Howdy everybody. This is going to be my first time trying to film myself blacksmithing. The audio might get all screwed up because of the sound of the forge. We're just going to have to try it and find out. Going to try to make a nail today. Might also work on a few other things. Might figure out how to edit down the video, might not. We're just going to see how it goes. I always like something small, like strip of cardboard or paper. Throw it all the way in, and here's the loud noise. Alright, I'm going to keep filming in hopes that you guys can hear me. Forge is going to start heating up my metal. This is my usual hammer I use for most things. You can tell by my anvil we are a very humid climate. But for making nails, you need a couple things. You obviously need your forge, you need your anvil, you need something to be able to cut hot steel, and you need a tool called a nail header. It's got a hole cut in it so that I can slot the metal of the nail through and hammer on the top to make a flat head. Just like that. I'll put it through this hole in my anvil when I hit. You want something good and tough for that job. My metal's still heating up, hasn't even started to glow yet. May also work on one of my snails. This part has already been drawn out, but they'll turn into a piece like this, so obviously there's still a ways to go. Start by drawing out a long length of metal. About 2/3 of the material. A little bit of time to get things hot, especially because I didn't have the forge going already. I use propane. I've used coal before. Both work well. I've got the lights on. Normally I just keep things dark in here, so it's a little harder for me to tell my temperature by sight, but it is starting to glow and it is starting to get pliable. It was my first heat, wasn't heated all the way through, so I couldn't hit it as hard as I wanted, but made a little progress. Now while that heats up, I can work on this snail. This technique is called rounding. You don't have to round fire steels. I just like the look of it. When you're rounding things, they should start out square. You forge them from a square to an octagon, and then from an octagon you knock off those edges, making it a little more round. You get all the edges knocked down you can, and start working the rest. Back to the nail. Losing heat pretty quickly. knock the edges down on this plane, so I rotate it. Just slowly taking my time. Accurate hits, especially towards the end. You don't need a lot of power. The goal is accuracy. Try to get this close. You can see it's no longer a sharp square like it is sort of towards the base still. It's slowly becoming rounded. Back to my nail. Doing with the nail is more or less the technique known as drawing. I am drawing out that material. By doing so, every hit I do this way is smushing material out and forwards. So every hit is smushing in both directions. I then rotate it. Every hit I do that way is smushing it out and forwards. By continually doing this through repetitions, I'm continuing to shrink it down in both directions, which is forcing the material forwards. It's a fairly simple concept, but understanding it does help make things efficient. You can use other tools to help you do it faster as well. See, starting to take the shape of a rectangular nail. I can tell by the sounds of my forge I'm running low on gas, so I may cut the video off when I run out and do a follow-up video if this one's worthwhile. Here we go. Back to the snail. I've knocked off most of the edges. Just going back over and looking for any spots that look like they could use a touch-up. Already, I haven't even really started what I would call rounding, but from here you may already be able to see, there we go, the piece is starting to become more like a rat's tail, more round, slowly but surely. Back onto the nail, what I do is I start testing it on my piece. You can see how far it's come through. That gives me an idea of how much further I have to go. I can work that tip to a point now and mostly leave it because the tip will already fit through. I no longer need to shape it any further once it's sharp. Sharp as I make it. Checked while cold too. There's no reason to do it while hot other than just checking, but it will fit through, I don't know, an inch or so from the entrance. So making progress. And now I'll really show you what rounding looks like. I start from the tip because it will lose the heat fastest. And as you can see, I'm barely even holding the hammer. I'm just holding it near the tip, letting the tip fall. And that's enough at those higher heats, especially towards the end. Now I keep working my way back. There's still a good amount of heat in this middle section to get a good amount of rounding done. Getting a little bit harder, both because I'm losing heat because I'm working on a larger part or a larger piece. And I got about halfway up with my start. So from here, and my hand's further back than it looks, it's still probably over 1,000, at least over 500. So it's quite hot, but you can see that tip is quite round now, but the base that I didn't round is still fairly rough. So back in we go. Back to the nail. Just slowly drawing the shear. Controlling your heat and knowing what kind of hits to do tells you a lot. I've gotten a little bit further that pass. Still not enough for what I'm aiming for. Both need some time to heat up, so I'll talk a little bit about heat control. Anything that is around 500 degrees is no longer glowing, but it is still malleable if it's over 500. Just barely. The hotter it gets, the more malleable when you're working with steel or iron. So when you have it really, really hot, that's when you really want to stretch and move material. It's the most efficient time. But if you want to just barely move material, or not even really move material, but bend, correct, and take things to a more straight appearance, that's best done at lower heats, where you're less likely to hit it too far and push it past where you want it to be. So you can use the temperature to actually be working for you instead of against you. Back up to heat on this again. While it's really hot, I can move material very quickly. So while I'm rounding, I'm not hitting it very hard right now. I'm holding it fairly close to the head. Dropped it. Happens to us all sometimes. Set it back on the anvil, grab it correctly again. I've lost a lot of heat from that drop. Now I can back off a little bit, and I can hit it quite a bit harder without actually changing it harder. So you can gauge how much material you want to move by temperatures. So there we go. That looks very, very rounded to me. Looks very, very rounded in general. Let me try to get a little closer again so I can see through the camera. Yep. So very, very rounded. Getting it focused kind of gets a little hot on my hand, but rounded front to back. And so that is what will become the snail shell, the spiral. And I can begin stretching out the other end. Again, if you decide to make a snail or Scottish striker, you aren't required to round it. I just like the look of it. It's how I make it. It's one of the great things about smithing as an art. You can both be making the same thing, but the way that you make it makes it different. Plenty of people are out there making nails. Generally, most of them are trying to do it quicker than I do. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, which is not how you normally make a nail. There you can see I was getting lower on heat, so I just hit it a little harder. But right there, we're getting a pretty decent sized nail through. Just got to set that back in. Holding the snail. It looks like I screwed up when I cut it off the main piece earlier. So I'm trying to make sure I don't create a cold shut. Looks like I did okay. I may take it to the grinder, touch it up. Now we're back to the nail. I think I boogered up the tip there. It's called a mishit. Just didn't hit it straight on. So I may have to cut off that tip and make a new tip. It's okay. Back to measuring though. I can worry about the tip later. Looks like I've just about got my measure right. Depth-wise is looking good. I think I should be able to cut that off shortly. Safety tip, normally you don't smith with any kind of blade or anything in the hardy hole. The idea being if I were to go over and swing my hammer down, I could cut off fingers. And that is a good safety tip, but I wanted this here for the video for when I show you the next part of the nail making process. Alright, I don't think I'm going to finish this today. Not the snail. But I can get this part a little bit closer. Show you all drawing. I don't know how noticeable it is, but I have to hit a lot harder. This material is high carbon, which causes it to spark brighter, but it hardly moves when I hit it compared to this mild steel that I'm using. Back to this one. little bit too thick, and I'm just barely glowing red to my eyes, so I can still move it. So I hit it real hard. Wouldn't have to hit it that hard at all at a high heat, but because I'm trying to get it to fit right, that's about what I aim for. A bunch of material still sticking up out of the top. So I'm going to get that hot and cut it off. Now for the snail that I mentioned I'm not going to be able to finish, I brought it back up to heat, and I'm going to set it in some sand to cool nice and slow. That'll make it soft when I come back to finish this project, hopefully in another video. I know there's a lot of long, spaced out sections here. Hopefully I edit these out. If not, sorry. Still very new to the whole YouTubing thing. Been smithing for quite a while, but YouTubing is quite new to me. Alright, hopefully this is within view for everybody. Go above, turn it back. I've now cut it on 3 sides. I cut partially through until I'm almost all the way through. And I just slowly, gently hit it. And then you might notice I've been hitting above. I'm now going to start hitting to the side. I've lost too much heat due to stopping to explain it. Nope. Alright, so that broke it off. Alright. Get it where I've got it straightened back out again, and then we'll throw it right back in the forge. Notice it's not glowing, and yet I can still move it. Light hits. What I was saying, just because it's not hot enough to glow doesn't mean it won't move under the hammer. So straightening it while it's nice and cool saves a lot of energy. Water break. Stay hydrated. Alright, piece is almost hot. Square up my anvil a little. My anvil is not properly installed. Not properly installed at all, really. So it moves around and it's really loud. I need to get around to doing it right, but it works for the time being. Now through the hardy hole, I'll start lightly hitting it to straighten it. A good smith can do that in a single heat, and sometimes I succeed at that, but right now I'm taking it easy, trying to do my best to make good video instead. There's a lot of material that kind of scrapes off the sides. I could clean that up if I were going to sell this one, but this one's just my first time making an extra wide, a rectangular one, but it's starting to mushroom out. That hitting like this is exactly like I was describing. It's stretching it in all directions when I was forming it, when I was drawing it. I'm not drawing it this time, I'm just hitting it down, straight down, to do what's called upset the material. Instead of crushing it down and longer, I'm squishing it outward, thus making a thicker piece out of a thinner piece. And if you're really good, you can start out with a really long piece, get it good and hot, and then you can upset it all the way down and end up with a really big top on there. But you've got to be very hot and very accurate to move that much. As is, I'm already probably using much more material than I need to for what I'm trying to accomplish. But with most things in life, it's better to have too much than too little. Alright, I just drop it back in. Again, you can see in this case I'm sort of doing a pulling motion. You can actually pull material and push material with your hammer. There we go, got it to pop out. Yeah, you can hit in a direction and it will pull or push material. Right there you can see there's a flat head on it. It's a little lopsided, it's a little uneven. A lot of that is because I didn't take it to a file and file it all flat. So when I started to hit it, the part that was sticking up from the cut smushed down onto one side. But I'll make things relatively pretty on the next heat. They aren't going to be perfect, but I'll make them kind of work. I've got it up to a red heat, but I want it on orange for what I'm about to do. Back at it again. First I get it flat, and then I start the rose pattern. I have a tendency of getting them stuck. There we go. You can use ground up charcoal, or graphite, or a number of things to prevent them getting stuck like that. I usually just keep tapping them on the anvil. If you're wondering how I made this, this piece is just a chunk of a truck leaf spring like a lot of people make knives out of. I just knew it was a tough material that's springy and resistant to impact. And then the handle was just, I can't think of the word, but it's the thing welders use to knock scale off of what they're working on. We just cut the head of that off and welded this on after we cut the hole through it. Back to heat, tap it all the way back in. Alright, that's far from pretty. I'll do one more heat to try to make it pretty. Fighting me a lot on getting stuck. Wow. Well, the video might end here shortly then. Yep. hitting it too cold, so I just broke the tip off. But like I said earlier, I kind of screwed up the tip. I expected I'd have to get rid of it. I don't know what I'm actually stuck on is the problem. Huh. There we go. Got it to pop out of there. So there you can see it's at least a nail-shaped piece of metal. Like I said, I'm going to touch it up real quick. It does not meet my specifications or my acceptance level for me to sell that, but it was a good demonstration. You could certainly sharpen that tip and use it to build something. But that's sort of the simplicity of blacksmithing. There's a saying, you don't throw away a knife, you just make a smaller knife. That's true for a lot of things in smithing. It's very rare that you have to throw an entire project out. The vast majority of the time, all you gotta do is try again. Alright, one right in the top. There we go. It's not the prettiest head I've ever made, but functional. There we go. Thank you everybody for watching. Have a great day.